The story begins where we left off from the last episode. Lex Luthor continues his endeavor to reactivate the last piece of Brainiac so he can reconstitute him. The other members of the Legion of Doom worry that Luthor is so absorbed in bringing back Brainiac that he has lost sight of why they formed the Legion in the first place. When the experiment fails again, Luthor destroys the lab in a fit of rage. Tala confronts Luthor and urges him to give up, telling him that what he's doing is a wild goose chase. Luthor lashes out at her, telling her that what he is doing is science, something that she wouldn't understand. Tala claims he needs a transmutation, which is one of her specialties. Luthor initially mocks the idea, but when he realizes there's something to it, he allows Tala to use her magic on the last piece of Brainiac. She immediately uses her magic to see what's hidden inside the rock. When she initially thought there was nothing, she got stumped to find a piece of memory, to which she showed Luthor. Tala shows Luthor a vision of Brainiac's asteroid seconds before it was destroyed. Although the piece of rock failed to revive Brainiac, it did show Luthor where the asteroid got destroyed, and he hoped he would find a part of Brainiac that he could use to restore him. Seeing Luthor spiraling again, Tala talks to him, hoping he can throw away his obsession with reviving Brainiac. Luthor tosses her aside and tells her to keep her mouth shut while rejoicing in the idea of becoming a god again with Brainiac's powers. With the intent of going out into space to find where Brainiac's asteroid was destroyed, Luthor orders the Legion to begin modifying their base for space travel. His grueling demands on them cause many villains to resent him further. He oversees the construction of the base and micromanages everyone, which causes them to lash out over the simplest of things. When Weather Wizard starts questioning Luthor, he threatens to kill him, ensuring everyone else is in check. Once the modifications were complete, Luthor assembled the Legion in the meeting room. When he asked what their plan was, Luthor reveals his plan to recover pieces of Brainiac from outer space. He thinks that collecting them would finally allow him to revive Brainiac once and for all. Goldface speaks up and asks him what's in it for them. Luthor explains they will be rewarded by being his new lieutenants in the New Order. When Goldface stood up to challenge him, Luthor pressed a button on his belt which caused unbearable pain to Goldface. Claiming that he was already more powerful than the rest of them combined, Atomic Skull asks him what their plan is, which Luthor reveals to have modified the Legion's headquarters fly into space. He also claims that he has altered the cloaking field into a hyperspace field to allow space travel. When the modified base lifts off the ground, Grodd becomes aware of the unusual movement from his cage. He grows uneasy and demands to know what's happening when Tala arrives. She claims to have finally realized the depths of Luthor's obsession with Brainiac. Tala says she sided with the wrong leader when it should have been him. When Grodd calls Luthor a thug, she explains how she doesn't want to compete with a dead computer. She proposes to reform their alliance and takes back the Legion from Luthor. Toyman thanks Luthor for making him the chief navigator and claims he loves learning a new controller. Luthor orders him to keep them on course and explains that the slightest error could be fatal when a wall blows up out of nowhere and sees Grodd with other dissidents. Grodd demands Luthor turns the base around and surrender, but when he doesn't respond, Grodd fires his cannon at him. When the others hear an explosion, they quickly run to defend Luthor, and a massive fight breaks out among members of the Legion. Although the Grodd loyalists are larger in number, the Luthor loyalists are much more powerful. Grodd chases after Luthor, but Bizarro lunges at him and grabs him by the neck, nearly choking him. Rampage arrives and gets Bizarro off of him. Giganta also escapes from prison and captures Grodd, still furious at him for trying to fry her brain after a failsafe device implanted in her almost killed her. When she nearly breaks his bones, Tala uses magic to knock her down, freeing Grodd. Tala chases after Luthor, cornering him after she destroys his escape. When she tries to use her magic on him, her magic turns on her, to which Luthor reveals a magic talisman to shield himself from her. Killer Frost finds Toyman hiding behind the control panel, but he headbutts her and runs off. When Killer Frost gave chase, Toyman used his destructive yo-yo to fight back, knocking her out. Heatwave attacks Blockbuster when Silver Banshee sneaks up from behind and attacks Heatwave. Star Sapphire knocks her out from behind and attacks Blockbuster. Parasite attacks an unconscious Giganta and drains her energy when Sinestro arrives to restrain him. Grodd knocks him out with his cannon. Executioner and Atomic Skull were fighting when Luthor was caught trying to take out Executioner with a fire extinguisher. Sinestro warns him just before Grodd can fire his weapon at him. As Grodd ferociously chases after him, Luthor suddenly decides to face him once and for all. When Grodd fires his weapon at him, he cancels it with his enhanced metal gauntlets. When he saw his gun was ineffective, Grodd took it to a fistfight. Luthor is no match for Grodd's brute strength and is nearly beaten to death. Luthor tricks Grodd into using his telepathic powers on him by taunting and telling him he's a mindless animal. Luthor's been waiting for Grodd to use his powers on him, so he turns against him, making Grodd an unwilling puppet. With no choice but to obey Luthor's commands, Grodd kneels and calls Luthor his better. Luthor then orders Grodd to load himself into an airlock before he releases the mind control. Grodd tries to break the door down, but it was too sturdy. Luthor taunts him for the last time before he bids a mocking farewell, releasing him into space as Grodd yells vows of deadly revenge. Having defeated their leader, Luthor and the others round up the remaining Grodd loyalists and ask them why he should keep them alive. Killer Frost, who has sided with Grodd, walks up to him and callously attacks her comrades by freezing them. She manages to buy a pardon for herself by turning on her friends. Luthor commends her decision to turn on them and orders her to kill the others. Toyman informs Luthor that they've arrived at where he believes is where Brainiac exploded. Luthor drags a captured Tala back to his lab. She begged for her life, pleading temporary insanity, but Luthor didn't believe her. Luthor assures her that she still has an important part to play. Then Volcana knocks her out. When she regains consciousness, she wakes up strapped to a machine. Luthor reveals that he plans to collect the debris, which houses Brainiac's essence, and uses her as a mystical conduit to bring Brainiac back to life, a process that would kill her. Tala finally realizes that Luthor's planned this from the beginning. As the others prepare the collectors, Luthor orders Toyman to turn the switch while Tala pleads for her life. When nothing happens, Luthor orders Toyman again when he realizes that time is momentarily frozen and a mysterious entity called Metron appears before him. He introduces himself as a scientist and a chronicler, existing between time and claiming to have seen how the world began and ended. He urges Luthor not to go through with what he is attempting, claiming that it threatens the entire universe, its past, present, and future. Luthor dismisses his warnings and claims that he's on the verge of godhood, and that nothing will stop him. With no intention of heeding his advice, Metron disappears, but not before telling him that he has no idea what he is unleashing into the universe, and that they will all regret his decision. As time is restored, Toyman turns the switch as ordered while Tala crackles with energy, shrieking in agony. As the life force is drained from Tala's body, a figure forms within the containment device. Luthor revels in his triumph and exalts the Legion to meet their new master. When the smoke finally cleared, everyone was shocked to find Darkseid instead of Brainiac, stronger than ever. Darkseid thanks the shocked Luthor and the Legion for resurrecting him. Although he intends to make Earth suffer, he grants them a quick death as appreciation for resurrecting him. With that, Darkseid immediately destroys the Legion's base with a fraction of his power. On Apocalypse, the remaining factions of Darkseid's army vie for power. The forces of Granny Goodness and Vermin Wunderbar prepare for a last battle for control of Apocalypse. The female Furies lead Granny Goodness's forces while Kanto and Mantis lead the charge of Wunderbar's army. When both sides are about to clash, a massive explosion occurs in front of both armies, and a bright light covers the land. As the light fades and the smoke clears, they are shocked to find their dead master Darkseid very much alive. Fearful of his wrath, both factions quickly regain their wits, bowing before him and pledge their loyalty. When Bernadette asks for Darkseid's command, he informs them that he still intends to search for the anti-life equation to bring order to the universe as he sees fit. He reveals to them that he plans to halt his search for the anti-life equation to take advantage on Superman for killing him in their last encounter by destroying Earth. Kanto respectfully reminds him that attacking Earth would violate his pact with Highfather and invite retaliation from New Genesis. Darkseid, however, is not concerned. He claims that once he's finished with Earth, he intends to attack New Genesis next. At the Metro Tower, where Superman and the others are, a staffer runs to the control room and urges Superman to go outside. Superman and the other members of the Justice League quickly head out to find Lex Luthor and the remaining members of the Legion of Doom. Luthor comes face to face with Superman and claims that they have a problem. The end. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap that bell icon to be notified about our latest videos. We'll see you next time.